So good morning, everyone. This is Tom Peters from Missouri State University. I'm the Dean of Libraries. I'm out at the Melton place on KK Highway up by Hickory Barren, Missouri. It's in Google Maps. You can find it. Today's date is Thursday, October 8th, 2020, and we're here to talk about harvesting walnuts. And October is the big month. Our special guests today are Larry and Jackie Melton. Welcome. Thanks very much for having us out today. So is October the big harvest month for walnuts?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you've been doing this for how many years?
I'm thinking this is our 7th year.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And so the Hammons Company, which is up by Stockton?
In Stockton.
Stockton. They harvest, they collect all the walnuts from this area of the Ozarks and probably beyond, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, from Pennsylvania,
Really?
Ohio,
Yeah,
Kentucky,
all over the country, really.
Are they the biggest handlers of walnuts?
Yes.
Black walnuts.
Black walnuts, okay. And so I have all kinds of dumb questions. So my first dumb question is, these are all, walnut trees occur naturally in the Ozarks. So it wouldn't be like you're walnut farming per se. You're just harvesting a natural crop.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Actually, Hammons has some trees that they're working on developing
Really?
also
Really?
In
that you
Stockton.
can purchase. And
For actual like walnut farming.
yes,
Yeah.
and they make a larger nut
Oh.
than what grows in the wild.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they've been developing that for a long time. I'm not sure where they're at with it.
Uh-huh.
But if you go to Stockton for the Black Walnut Festival,
Uh-huh.
and it's in September every year, if you ever have an opportunity to go down there, Hammons will take you through their plant and show you how they process the black walnuts after they get them in.
Uh-huh.
And they'll also offer in the afternoon, there's a big parade, and then they offer in the afternoon, they'll take you out and show you some of the trees that they've been developing too.
Okay.
It's a very interesting operation. It's very computerized. A lot of the equipment that processes to the final stage has to go through computers
Uh-huh.
to separate the shell from the meat,
Yeah.
and then the dark meat from the lighter colored meat.
Oh, so there's two types of meat.
Yeah.
So let's back up and say
Dissolvable,
a walnut is basically consists of what I would call the hull. And that's what you do here is separate the hull from the
Shell.
shell and the nut meat.
Mhm.
And then you've bagged them up into these
pellets
breathable bags
Right?
to dry out.
and
So-
palletize them. And then eventually, and look like you got quite a bit of, I'll pan here a little bit. You got quite a few already ready to go.
We have 21 tons here now.
Okay. And then eventually a 18-wheeler with a flatbed will come in and you'll load them up on that. The driver will tie them down and then take them off to Stockton, to be processed.
Yes.
That's basically the whole.
Yes, it's pretty sweet, slick operation. It's well geared to do this particular part of the operation. And then once they receive them at Hammons, they go into a large pit, and it's all pretty automated from there.
Uh-huh. I mean, just the bags get thrown in and somehow they open up this
No,
little.
they cut them open.
They cut them open and dump them into
Pour
this
'em into
pit.
this-
Yeah.
Pour them into this auger that carries them through the plant, and the plant crushes the nuts, and the shells go one way and the walnut goes another way, and they use the shells. The shells are used for oil drilling, water filtration systems. The shells are used for sandblasting.
Only it's walnut shell blasting instead
Yeah,
of
it's
sandblasting.
not.
Yeah.
And
Same
you were telling me
concept.
when I stopped by last week that it's actually better as I guess you call it an abrasive than
Yes.
sand.
Yes, it's sharper and
And
Yeah.
does less damage to what, if you're trying
Whatever.
to protect something.
Whatever you're trying to
Yeah. yes.
blast.
And so, and then the meat is separated into specific grades.
Uh-huh.
There is a dark colored walnut that's not so desirable in a bag, you know, like you would see at Walmart.
For recipes and
Yeah, for
cooking.
cooking and baking. And then the dark walnuts, the ones that are discolored, they're same thing. But
Uh-huh.
they're just they go into the other part of the operation where they send them then to be chocolate covered, caramel covered,
Yeah.
and
Imagine a lot of candy manufacturers
Candy
will
manufacturers, yes.
buy them up. And when I was out here a few years ago, so I kind of got interested in walnuts, and there's like almost like a walnut belt that goes like from Pennsylvania right through the Ozarks here.
yes. Uh-huh.
And
We're
as
right
I
in-
recall, the Ozarks was the most productive region within the walnut belt.
We're right in the middle of the walnut belt. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so people bring them in. So a couple questions just about this year because it's an unusual year. So how are the prices? Are they pretty good or not so good? Or
As high
Good.
as ever.
really?
They're at the highest they've ever been. Last year, they were the same price,
Uh-huh.
but it's still the highest it's ever been.
It's the-
$16 per 100 pounds after hulling.
Okay.
That's what they're
So after you hull it, then you take it in and weigh it, and you pay the person who brought them in $16 a hundredweight.
right.
Yeah. Now I don't mean to pry into your business, but you get something out of doing
We
this.
get a commission for it.
You get a commission for every
Yes.
pound that's brought in. You get a certain amount of money. And,
Yes.
Yeah. And how many of these hulling stations does Hammons have?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Brian that.
Yeah, because they're all over the country.
Yeah.
Brian Hammons is the grandson, and he has all the information on that.
He's the president of the company.
Yeah, he's
Uh-huh.
president, and we'll be talking to him pretty soon, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
I called and they were. He's out in the plant right now. So.
Okay. Yeah, he would know more about that than I do, but I know he has hundreds of haulers all around the country, and some operations have more than one hauler. Like down at the fairgrounds, they have two haulers at the fairgrounds.
Right. Right.
And they don't bag them; they bulk handle them.
Really?
The walnuts go into a metal basket,
Yeah.
4 foot by 4 foot square basket,
Uh huh.
and so they load them on semis that way,
Uh huh.
so they don't have to bag them.
So what's the advantage of bagging for the smaller supplier?
It's just easier for us to handle it that way. We're
Yeah.
not set up to do the bulk, really.
Yeah.
You almost have to have a dump truck, don't you, to
Well, yeah, you have to have the containers, which are heavy wire
Yeah.
mesh containers with pallets welded to the bottom. So when they get up there, they have a machine that raises them and then dumps them.
Uh huh.
And so we're not set up to do that, but there is some other operations around the country that do bulk handling.
Yeah. And how long do you collect them? For 6 weeks, or roughly how long do you collect walnuts?
It kind of varies, but generally it's always starts on October the 1st, whatever that day is,
Uh huh.
and it runs through. Sometimes, like this year, they advertised originally November the 2nd, but I see in some advertising they're doing online, they're saying October the 31st.
Uh huh.
They
Which is a
kind
Saturday.
of
I
give
think
their-
Halloween's on a Saturday this year. So.
I don't know. But they kind of give their hullers kind of a little bit of room in there, to play with. If you want to go a little bit longer, you can.
Yeah.
It's
Is there a
not-
natural peak? So today's the 8th. I mean, is like this weekend going to be the peak in terms of people bringing stuff in?
It depends on the weather. What we need now to gather more bulk is a good frost. When it frosts, the nuts fall.
They'll drop, yeah.
At this date, at this time, there's still a lot of walnuts in the tree.
Yeah.
They haven't fallen yet, and so a lot of our professional gatherers, harvesters, are kind of waiting for the walnuts to fall.
Yeah.
They're bringing in truckloads and trailer loads, and some cases, some of our professional haulers bring in as much as 1,800 pounds on one trailer load.
Yeah.
And then they rush back to the woods to gather more.
Yeah. I don't know much about nut harvesting, but I know for like almonds and things, they actually shake the tree to
Yes.
get the nut to release.
Yes, they
Do they
that
do
with
any of that for walnuts, or
What?
do they do that with walnuts at all? Is there?
No, it's kind of hard on the tree, but in California, the English walnuts, they do that with, they have shakers.
So the English walnuts are farmed, really, where you actually plant the tree
Yeah,
and
mostly, yeah.
care for the tree. And English walnut is a milder walnut?
Yes.
Yes, much milder.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no flavor like the black walnut. There's nothing to compare that to.
Yeah. They also stain just about anything that hole gets
Yes,
onto.
you need to wear gloves, but
But most of the guys won't wear gloves. So
Right.
like I said, it's a really smooth operation. They have it really timed out and geared for the hauler. But if something breaks down, which it does, this machine is probably 60, 65 years old, maybe older. And so if something breaks, which is pretty common because the chains are
Yeah.
they're older than I am, and if a chain breaks or something, well, then you have to dig it out. You have to clean the machine out and get to it and dismantle it, take it apart, and get it out, or you can work on it and fix a broken link or a broken bar,
Yeah.
and then string it back up and get it started again. And so sometimes that happens when they're backed up the driveway here.
Yeah, I was going to ask, it's probably, you don't want it to go down when people are
And
lined
then
up
it breaks
to.
down, and
Yeah.
so
it's amazing though that our harvesters that come to this station are so gracious when that happens. I'll usually go out and talk to them and tell them what's going on, and
Yeah.
they're very gracious people.
They'll wait.
They will wait.
Yeah.
Usually they will wait, or they're close enough by. They'll say, "I'll come back tomorrow."
I'll come
or-
back. Yeah.
But they don't generally get angry or anything about it.
Yeah.
but it doesn't take me very long usually to repair it. Me and Dexter will get in there and get it out. And I have welders and all the equipment I need to get it repaired. And if it's something major, all I have to do is call Hammons Products in Stockton, and they send a service truck here.
Really?
And the service
But you
truck-
own the machine?
No.
Oh.
No. But I've been using this machine ever since I was 19 years old.
Really? So you've been hulling walnuts longer than you've been a Hammons collection station?
Well, I did it for years in Ohio, and then
When he was working with the Boy Scouts, they
Yeah,
used to have a hulling station, and he says that's the machine they used.
Really? So sometimes like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, various philanthropic or service organizations will,
As a fundraiser.
like selling Christmas trees or
nonprofit groups.
that kind of thing.
Yes.
Do you have
School-
anybody
school
now?
bands, things like that.
Do you have anybody here who says, bring your walnuts in on this day and it'll benefit?
Not officially.
Uh-huh.
Now Hammons advertised that they were doing a contest last year. I haven't heard any news on that this year.
Yeah.
That they were doing some things with local nonprofits.
Yeah.
But we promote a contest. Whoever brings in the most during the season
At our hulling
to
station.
our station
Yeah.
receives an extra $100.
So out of these hundreds of hulling stations, I mean, are you like one of the biggest in terms of how much product you collect, or?
No, we're kind of the average. Like I said, some operations around the country have two machines running.
Yeah.
And because they have such a massive amount of people that come in, and so they have to have two to handle the flow. But we've done pretty good with just one machine.
Yeah.
And
And so there's a couple of hulling machines down at the fairgrounds. I've seen
Yes,
those before.
two.
Yeah. Where else around here are there hulling stations?
well, we'd have to look at the website, but
Oh,
they're in
they've got a map on the website.
Republic and Willard. I think there's still one in Willard and Marshfield.
If you go online and
Yes.
enter in Hammons Walnuts hulling stations, the
It's a bee, not a fly, as compared to last night's debate. There's a
Yeah,
fly
there you
perched
go.
on.
But, yeah, you can go online and that information's all online. Hammons offers it.
But you pretty much handle, I mean, there are a lot of, I don't know how many walnut trees, but there are a lot of trees pretty much north of Springfield. And
You know, you'd be surprised. We get people we've had people from Rogersville, Stratford, Bolivar, Battlefield, Fairgrove, Springfield.
Yeah.
They just come in from, and those, you know, like we entice some of them because they think they're going to bring in enough walnuts that they have a shot at that $100 bonus prize.
Yeah.
So they'll come here if they're really into it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
So the current leader on the prize is how many? Well, I don't need to know the name, but it's how many pounds did they bring in?
well, the biggest load we've had so far, I don't know who's in the lead for bringing the most in right now, but the biggest load we've had so far was brought in by a Springfield family that,
A family.
yes, and they get to pick up at about 3 different golf courses, which is sweet picking. You know, you got your roller,
That's
and it's
right.
well groomed, and they brought in a load the other day that was over 1,900 pounds in one load.
Wow.
So that
How
that's
did
the biggest
they
one
get
so
it
far
here?
this
How did
year.
they get it here? I mean, what,
Trailer.
I don't know how many trucks maybe they've destroyed bringing walnuts out here, but I've got
I mean,
pictures
that's almost
from
a
the
ton.
past of
I mean, that's a
their
ton of
pickup. You know, just
hulled walnuts. So, you know, I don't know. Do you know offhand when you bring in a batch of walnuts, how much of the weight
Right.
is whole versus how much is 50-50 maybe? I don't know.
Oh, close, 40,
Yeah.
40, 60 maybe.
Yeah.
I think the holes probably weigh more than the nut. So
Well, it depends on the weather, how damp the hulls are, and
Here comes somebody else.
how dry the.
the holes, the walnuts have been, they've all, what I've seen so far, have seemed very fresh and green and nice this year.
Yeah. So you mentioned that a good frost is actually good for walnut harvesting.
Yeah.
What are the enemies? Rain, moisture?
Yeah, rain. It's hard to move equipment around. It's hard to, operate big equipment when it gets muddy.
Right.
So we get mud all over.
Mud.
So
Do like worms and grubs and stuff get into walnut holes? Yeah.
They get in the hulls, but they can't get in the walnut.
Right.
So there's no worms in the walnut.
So you're drying them down to trying to get. You told me that the holes, when they sell, if they sell, they're worth more than the nut meat.
There's botanical companies that purchase the hulls. They process them and they send them to different parts of the country to further process them into capsules, a walnut capsule that people take. You can buy the capsules online or health food stores.
Really?
And the capsules are good for several things: thyroid problems.
Now, whether the EPA says that's true or not, I don't know. But
Yeah,
that's what they advertise
but there's
as a supplement.
Are walnuts nutritious?
Oh yeah, very.
Yeah.
I understand they're more nutritious than English walnuts, for instance. They're higher in protein. And I have all that research in the house, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
But just in general, yeah, eating walnuts
Very
is
nutritious, yes.
nutritious for you. So I try Brian again to see if I can catch him.
Brian. The thing with walnut hulls, there's a byproduct chemical in the hulls called juglin. Juglin.
Juggling.
Juglone, something like that. I'm not sure how you put it.
It's not particularly good for gardening.
Hey Brian, this is Tom Peters. I'm the Dean of Libraries at Missouri State University down here in Springfield. And I'm currently interviewing Larry and Jackie Melton about their hoeing station operation. And let me put you on speakerphone. I'm actually recording this as well, so hopefully I can pick you up. And first thing I'll ask you for is your permission to record you, because I've got a form, but you can't sign it. Hold on. Okay, you still there, Brian?
Yes.
All right, let me turn up my... Okay, so we're with Brian Hammond with Hammons Walnuts. You're up in Stockton, is that where you are?
Yes, our plant is here in Stockton. We've been here since 1946.
Okay, and I am recording this, so if you could just say, yes, I understand you're recording this, and we have your permission
Yes.
to do so.
I understand you're recording this, and you have my permission.
Okay, thanks. Hope this gets picked up on this little handheld audio recorder. So, you've been in business since, what, 46, right after the war?
Well, right. My grandfather started our business in 1946, had a grocery store here in Stockton, and found an opportunity to buy some local black walnuts, and just built the business from there.
And how big is the business now? Like how many, I don't know how you measure it, how many tons do you harvest every year?
Yeah, we have about 80 people or so year-round, and added a few more folks during the fall harvest season to help unload trucks and whatnot. We have about 20 to 25 million pounds a year of in-shell black walnuts that we bring in every year from about 11 states now.
Really?
Most of those are in Missouri. 65% of the crop comes from Missouri, and most of that is right here in the Ozarks. So this is the black walnut capital of the world, for sure.
Okay. And I remember I was out here a couple years ago, and then I was doing a little bit of research, and there's almost like a walnut belt that stretches pretty much from Pennsylvania a little bit farther west than here to get into the Great Plains.
Yeah, that's basically it. And we have a map in our conference room that shows the belt, the Shenandoah Valley, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Virginia, and then all the way through Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, and then Missouri really is the highest concentration of black walnut trees.
Yeah.
And it pretty much runs out when you get to the plains in eastern Kansas.
Yeah. So, and you said of all the walnuts you process, about 65% come from the Ozarks region.
That's correct. That's correct. And of course, so this is the natural wild black walnuts, the American black walnuts. Very different than the California English walnut that is grown in orchards and is millions, even billions of pounds every year. It's well known throughout the world. Black walnut is very much more of a local Midwest natural product. It's not quite as well known, but folks who know that wild flavor, that bold natural flavor, really love them, and they're incomparable.
Yeah. And Jackie was saying that you actually are working on a, I guess you'd call it a hybrid, that could actually be what I would call farmed, where you'd actually plant some trees, take a long time, but then they mature and start to bear fruit.
Yes, these would be improved variety black walnut trees, and we've been working with Missouri State University and the University of Missouri for many, many years to help develop some of these and do the research behind growing trees and growing practices that produce better quality nuts. We've got some of those. In fact, I'm looking at some of them now, and we'll have more coming in from growers. Right now, it's a fairly small volume, but it's growing, and as people plant more of these trees, landowners planting trees as part of their farm operation to make money from a regular supply, a crop of black walnuts. These improved variety nuts have a higher percentage of nut meats, and so they have a higher price that we're able to pay for them.
And you know, of all the walnuts that grow naturally in the Ozarks, do you have any sense of how many actually get harvested?
Well, that's a great question. We've wondered from time to time how many don't get picked up, but in some areas, probably a good 2/3 of the available crop probably gets picked up. Kind of depends on the weather.
Yeah.
You know, when the weather's favorable and the nuts fall relatively early in October, and people have nice weather, they can get out and pick up the nuts. A lot of them actually do get harvested and brought in.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about that. So that's one of the big variables. When the weather is nasty, then it's harder to get them in. And when the nuts stay on the trees longer, then the winter weather comes and folks don't want to get out. That makes a big difference. And so that would be probably less than half of the crop in those situations. Last year we had a short crop. There just weren't many nuts developed on the trees. This year we're seeing pretty good crop here in Stockton, Springfield area, the base, the hub of the black walnut growing area, looks like a pretty good crop, and many of them are falling early. Beautiful weather. Folks are getting out, and I think it's going to continue to grow for the next couple of 3 weeks. Should be a really good season.
So the crops this season is shaping up to be really good, huh?
Looking pretty good, and I would think that Meltons would hopefully see their customers coming in and feeling optimistic about what the next few weeks look like.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that the price is almost like a classic supply and demand kind of scenario, where when the supply is good, maybe the price is a little bit lower. And
well, not completely. There's a little bit of that, but we found that early in the year, even if the crop is good, we really want to make sure that folks pay attention to them and get started and bring them in. So we've generally seen that we need to start the price pretty high to start with. And then if it comes in really well and we have all we need for that year, then we'd be buying for the future for the next crop, which probably wouldn't be very big next year. And we need to have a little bit lower cost to carry them all the way forward to make sure we take care of our good customers. So that's why the price could change later on in the year. We're starting out the highest price ever, even though there's a big crop out there. We started out the high price, $16 a 100 pounds.
yeah,
And here in a few weeks, that could be different. So we encourage people to get them picked up and get them in as soon as they can.
okay. So the price fluctuates day to day, maybe hour to hour, minute to minute. I don't know.
No, not that quickly. Not quite quickly. Our huller operators, the Meltons, really wouldn't like it if we changed it every day. That would be pretty hard to work with.
You could have a sign out on the road like a gas price, walnut price today.
Yeah, right. Not like the gas prices for sure. I know we'd give a couple of days notice if that were to happen, and probably would only happen once or twice during the season.
Have you ever had a disastrous season where there's a whole combination of things just, it was like a quarter or whatever what you normally pull in?
Oh, yeah, that does happen, and we've had years where there have been droughts.
Yeah.
We've had years where, the crop just is not there at all, and then years where the weather is so nasty that folks can't get out, especially on the weekends, and pick them up. But most of the time it's due to there just not being many nuts out there. And the crop will fluctuate from a low of, our record low was 3 million pounds. And that was a drought year. The high was 49 million pounds.
Wow.
In 1999. So big difference. And the interesting thing is, in 1999 it was 49 million pounds. In 2000 it was 9 million pounds.
Whoa.
So, big crop means that the trees have basically exhausted their food supply, and the next year they're just not going to have much left to make a good crop. And so that's what happened in those 2 years. And we see that fluctuate a lot. Big crops followed by a short crop. That's why we try to buy as much as we can whenever there is a good crop.
Yeah.
Last year we had two moderately short crops in a row of 13 million pounds. This year we're looking at over 20 million pounds, and with some good things happening, we hope to be blessed with maybe at least 25 million pounds.
That's great. So I didn't know that. So it's almost like it's, the crop is dependent upon available moisture and, but even the tree itself, just talking about an individual walnut tree, does it tend to have what I would call a good year, a productive year, and then a not so productive year?
Yes, absolutely. We see that trend in most trees where there's an alternate cycle, good crop, bad crop scenario. A few trees will produce well every year. A few trees don't produce very much at all.
Yeah.
And those are a little unusual. But many trees produce fairly well one year and then not quite so well the next year.
Does it early season frost? Does that affect? So how does a walnut?
Yes.
How does a walnut develop? Does it have to be pollinated?
It is pollinated. The female flowers come out in mid to late April generally, and so the pollination happens in late April to early May, and that's a critical time. We have a late frost, particularly in early May. that can zap the pollination process and really hurt the quality and the volume of the nut crop. So we really watch the weather at that time of year very closely.
Okay. And do you supply worldwide, or what's kind of your supply chain going out?
Pretty much United States. Our base is here in the United States. Folks who know black walnuts, that understand the flavor, the robust flavor of black walnuts and what it can do in a food ingredient item. A lot of folks really love that. It's a traditional flavor many have grown up with. Some of the family favorite recipes use black walnuts. It's great in desserts. Chefs are discovering how good black walnuts are as an ingredient in a lot of their dishes too.
So demand is actually kind of going up.
Than the regular walnut.
Demand is going up.
Excuse me.
Demand is going up. That the market for walnuts is strong.
It is changing. I think we're seeing more home baking now, just recently.
Yeah.
So we're seeing our customers that supply baking industry buying more. We're seeing more online, absolutely, orders and usage. Ice cream is a big use of black walnuts. For the traditional black walnut ice cream, it's a very popular flavor. Highland does a great job over here, pretty close to where you are right now.
Yeah. So in the U.S., if I go in a store and buy some black walnuts, are chances real strong those are Hammons walnuts?
Absolutely. They would be. If it says black walnuts, there's a really good chance that they came from right here in Stockton, and a good chance then that they were harvested, in Greene County even.
Yeah.
But we supply most of the people who package under their own brands for black walnuts around the country.
Yeah.
We have our own brand package, Hammons Black Walnuts. So yeah, you sell black walnuts anywhere.
All right.
Probably came from here.
All right. Well, thanks for talking with us. It's been very interesting. And what we're going to do with this is we actually got a series, we call them oral histories, where we come out and talk to people. And right now we're working on one about the agriculture in the Ozarks. So obviously walnuts is a big part of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a traditional thing here. And this time you get folks all over, particularly rural towns, but in Springfield too, pick up black walnuts. And I love to hear the stories of what they do with the money. And their memories of growing up, picking them up as a kid, and passing that along to their families, and just enjoying the outdoors, just all kinds of things. The way it connects with thousands of people.
Yeah.
It's pretty special.
One time I was out here.
We're a small company.
Yeah.
We're a relatively small company, but it's a blessing to be able to connect with folks in the ways we do. It's very unique.
Was your grandfather also a member of the Board of Governors of probably SMS back then?
Well, no, but I was.
Oh, you were? Okay.
10 years ago.
Okay. Well, thanks for your service to the university. Belatedly, I'll give you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it, and I've got to tell you, my son actually worked there for KSMU for a while, and he was getting his broadcast journalism degree.
Good. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Brian.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you. If there's any other questions, feel free to give me a call.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Bye.
Okay, so anything else you'd like to add? It's been really interesting, and you got another supplier coming in, I guess you call him.
That's he's a commercial hauler. He brings in 700, 800, 900 pounds like every other day.
A load? Yeah.
And he has people calling him to come and get them out of their yard so they can mow the grass.
Yeah. So some people just said they'll contact a harvester, I guess, and say, "Come on out." Yes. One thing we haven't talked about, and we should have gotten one as a display, is the it's almost about the size of a football.
Yeah, collector.
A collector. And do you loan those out to?
I have one of those in the office if you'd like me to grab it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. And you loan those out to people, or?
No, we have, and then we never get them back. Or they break them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of expensive. Not real.
Who makes those? Is some specialty company that makes them? Or?
Yes, you can get them at all these different feed stores around the country. Suppliers like Lowell's sells them.
Yeah.
And
Home Depot and
Home
some
Depot,
of those
right.
places.
And there's different models. There's all different kinds, but you need the large basket kind. It's about as big as a basketball. There's another picker. It's a little smaller, and it's not particularly designed for black walnuts. It's designed for acorns and smaller nuts.
Right. But so some people will go out and they'll ask the property owner, or maybe sometimes the property owner will contact them and say, come and pick up these, they're yours for the taking.
Yes, or they call me and they say, do you have anybody to come and get my walnuts out of my yard? And so I make a list of the people that call me every day. And then I send my commercial harvesters out to pick them up.
So this is what one of these looks like.
That's a black walnut.
Walnut with
That's designed specifically to pick up black walnuts.
And then
And
the way you get them out, you squeeze it like this.
Yep.
Or there's a wire that goes on a bucket,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, and then you...
and then you push down on it, and it separates.
Oh.
Um,
So if you're really serious about collecting walnuts, you're not down on your hands and knees and...
Yes, if you use that,
that saves your back.
Yeah.
you don't have to bend over so much. But you still got to pick up the bucket, the small bucket, and put it in a bigger
Yeah.
container. So you carry the small bucket around and that, and you gather them and put them into the bigger containers to bring them out here.
And then, I've already, just out here this morning, people will come and ask for bags, so they bring them in. Of course, they're pre-bagged, but you still got to unload the bags to get the holes off, and, but it's just an easier way for them. Like we see these people that are unloading right now, they've got big 55-gallon drums that they've put them into.
And one of the harvesters has these barrels they brought out here this year. I think they're only $5 a barrel for anybody
barrel,
interested.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So you put a barrel in your trailer or your truck, and then you harvest in the 5-gallon bucket, and you
Dump 'em, yeah.
dump 'em in.
Yeah.
And that way you can handle them. Once you get them out here, our operation, we can get them into the hole.
Yeah.
Easier to unload them.
The time I've done it's been the old 5-gallon buckets, but, probably I might have gotten
A
like...
lot of people bring them in loose right in the back of a pickup truck. So
Yeah.
you have to shovel them out. And,
Right.
That's pretty labor intense, but
Yeah.
if they're in buckets or barrels, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
For bags,
I
even
did
if it's in
have-
bags, they're easier to handle.
I did have one more thing. I wasn't here all the time you were talking to Brian, but I think it's important to make the point that black walnuts are non-GMO.
Oh, yeah.
Even that,
Yeah, that's a
when
good
you
point.
hear hybrid, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's genetically modified, and
Right.
these are not.
Right.
So
And they're just, they just grow naturally. So, whatever's, the local environment is what supplies, nourishes the tree. And do you have any walnuts on your own property? That's a question.
don't we have a tree or two out here?
There's some small trees back in around the pond, but
Yeah.
they don't produce a lot.
I think
I was gonna say, if
I
you
think
have
they
you ever
take
brought-
like 30 years to get to a point
Point where
where they
they-
start producing.
And do they have and eventually if the tree gets old enough, does it stop producing walnuts?
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
And like Brian said, there's two. There's a female tree. There's a male tree,
Uh-huh.
and so they have to pollinate,
Yeah.
like a pear tree or any other fruit tree.
Right.
And so, if there's not a male and a female tree within close proximity where they can pollinate, they won't. So they won't produce walnuts if they can't pollinate.
Uh-huh.
But one of the downfalls of the black walnuts is too many cedar trees. Cedar trees in the spring, about the same time that walnuts are going through their cycle and pollinating, the cedar trees are pollinating,
Uh-huh.
and then a wind blows, and it blows that pollination all over your windshield
Uh-huh.
and all over the walnut trees,
Uh-huh.
and that confuses the pollination
Right.
system
Where's this coming from? Yeah.
from the walnut tree.
Yeah. But just in nature, male and female walnut trees somehow find each other.
Yes, I don't know how far they can pollinate. It depends on the wind, I guess. But yeah, you have to have a pollination
Yeah,
thing there. And
yeah.
you got one tree out in a 100-acre field, it may or may not.
Yeah,
pollinate.
may not get any, yeah.
Yeah.
Has global warming done anything to walnuts? I mean, is it
I
like
wouldn't be the person to ask
moving?
that.
Not that I can tell.
Yeah,
The seasons are a little different from year to year.
yeah.
We've had seasons where it rained most of the time,
Right.
and this season has been exceptionally good. We've had perfect, beautiful weather
Yeah,
to go out, take your family and the kids out. We had a truck come in yesterday with 4 little children, and they were each throwing a walnut in.
they were enjoying it, huh?
They was having fun throwing walnuts at the hopper, and so it's a family oriented kind of harvesting process if you want to make it that way, and or organizations like school bands or
Right,
nonprofit organizations.
they'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has COVID-19 affected operations at all?
No, we have had some people come out wearing masks
Yeah.
all the time that they're here, and we have an office situation where they come to a window.
Uh-huh,
They don't come in the office.
uh-huh,
It's kind of like a no-touch operation.
right,
They come to a window, and we get their name, their address, and phone number, or email, and then we pay them for whatever poundage they brought in. And so,
It's all open air, so.
yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer. I think he was allergic to peanuts. Do you guys eat walnuts? Or?
oh yeah,
Walnuts, we love them.
Okay.
There's nothing better than banana
Bread with
black walnuts in it.
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
All right.
yeah.
Does anybody, harvest their own black walnuts and process them?
Yes, there's
Home
few
processing?
people bring them here, and they ask us to haul them and then bag them for them so they can take them home and crack them and process them,
Really?
and they cook with them, and
Yeah.
or just eat them by the handful, And so we do that for them, and we don't charge them anything to haul them.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't cost us hardly anything
Much. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
process a couple hundred pounds for somebody if they want to do that.
Of course, that's up to the individual hauler station, whether they charge them for
Right,
that or not. We
right.
choose not to.
But there's a
That's
few
come
people.
up
There's a few
often.
people that just want them back.
Yeah.
Getting the holes off is the main service
Yeah.
that you provide. And
Then you can get into the nut and make candy.
yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much for taking some time. Maybe I'll try to get back here some Monday if Monday's the busiest day and
Yeah, Monday seems to be a good day.
see what it's like when I've seen it where they're backed up all the way in the lane, and waiting to unload and
And you might let it drift a little longer into the season,
yeah.
you know.
All right.
When the nuts come off the tree,
Yeah.
we need a good frost. We're waiting on the wind. The wind is a good
Wind and frost.
source of harvester.
We got close the other night. I think there was some
Yeah.
frost east of us, but
Yes, it got down to 37, but it's got to get down to about 32,
yeah.
and then a good wind,
Yep.
and it'll shake them off.
Well, it's not going to happen. We're in a little bit of a warm spell now. Not going to happen in the next few days anyway.
No.
So, okay.
But I'm enjoying this too.
Yeah.
This is good.
Well, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure. I've learned more about walnuts than I think I'd ever known before now.
Well, thank you.
Thanks very much.